All right, so we're going to be talking about the structure of the plasma membrane. Now, one term that is often used to describe it is that it's called a fluid mosaic model. Now, if we use the word mosaic, a mosaic in art is a type of art that is made of lots of little pieces put together. And we can see the plasma membrane is made of billions, if not trillions, of little pieces all put together to make the plasma membrane. So where's the fluid come in? Well, it's called a fluid mosaic model because of the way the particles move past one another. In a liquid or a fluid, the particles are always in constant motion, right? And the same thing happens in the plasma membrane. All of these millions and trillions of particles are constantly moving past each other within a layer. All right, so let's talk about some of the functions of the plasma membrane. We know that it's a barrier between the intracellular and extracellular space, and these are two terms you need to know. Intracellular space is the space inside the cell, and extracellular talks about the space outside of the cell. We know it helps protect and support, but the big thing it does is that it controls what goes in and out. And we use the term selectively permeable for that. Here's an example on the right of it being selectively permeable. The membrane allows the bluish white particles to easily pass through, but does not allow the green particles to go through. It is selecting which ones can go through. So again, that's called selectively permeable. Controls what goes across the membrane. The primary structure that the plasma membrane is made of is something called the phospholipid bilayer. Now, phospholipid bilayer is made of these things called phospholipids. If we take the word apart, phospho refers to a phosphate head. So the very top of this is called a phosphate head. The lipid portion are the tails. So this is the lipid tail down here. Okay, and if we kind of take a look at the properties of each of those, what we'll notice is that the phosphate head is hydrophilic. Now, hopefully you remember that hydro means water, philic means it likes, so it loves water and it's charged. The tails, on the other hand, are considered to be hydrophobic. Phobic is like phobia, meaning it's scared of. So the tails are really scared of water. So we have this double-ended molecule, this phospholipid. One end likes water, the other end doesn't like water. And because of that, when they kind of start to line up, they create a bilayer. Now, the term bi means two. Okay, so we don't just have one layer, we have two layers of phospholipids. And their tails, you'll notice, are pointing towards each other. And we're creating a space where there is no water. That's why they point towards each other. What else happens when they line up like this? Well, we create areas that are charged on the outside and an area that's not charged on the inside. That's going to be a little bit important when we talk about transport of particles later, because charged particles cannot pass through the middle because the middle is not charged. They don't really get along with each other. All right, let's talk about some of the other stuff. So we know that the plasma membrane itself is made primarily of the phospholipids or phospholipid bilayer, but there's also things like proteins and carbohydrates. Let's talk about those a little bit. Okay. The proteins that we have going through, there's two types. There's integral and there's peripheral proteins. The integral proteins are actually used in transport. They help move particles across the membrane that could be charged or ones that are very large, right? The peripheral proteins are not used in transport. They don't go all the way through. They kind of hang out either on one of the surfaces. And the same thing with carbohydrates. Those are not used in transport. They're used in the idea of signaling. All right, so if you're not sure about the structure of the plasma membrane, if you're not sure what a phospholipid is and how they are arranged, you want to make sure that you watch this video again before you move on to forms of transport.